Which camera are we on?
This is the main one. That's just on
And
you.
that's... Oh, God. All right.
Hello and welcome to the Claret Blue podcast. Not quite Poddy Heath for us, but we are in the office. I've moved all our stuff around because somebody else is using the space.
Been kicked out.
Which is bloody irritating. No, I'm joking, it's all good. We're here today to do some timeless content, something that's not preceded by a match review or a post-match. We are recording this before the Wolves game, but that's irrelevant. Who cares? It doesn't matter. We're not going to be talking about anything current day today. Today's episode is going to be loosely based around building an Aston Villa 11. But the premise is they're all based off previous transfer rumours. And we know we all love a transfer rumour, don't we, John?
Do we?
Of course we do. But this isn't just Dave down the pub knows the security guard at Bodymore Heath who said this and this. These are things that are all in some kind of newspaper, whether it's the Daily Mail, whether it's Sky Sports, the Guardian, even for some of these.
How recent are we?
We're going back quite a way with some of them. Some of them do venture into the 90s, which is before our time, but we know the players.
Okay,
There won't be anyone here where you go, who? And it's just, you see that meme go around and it's guys can just sit around and talk about football.
Yeah, that could be it.
That's basically this episode.
It's the podcast, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
but so we're just going to talk about. We're just going to go. Remember him? Oh yeah, what a player! That's today's show basically. Yeah. So the loose premise is we will end up with an 11, but I've got about 30 here that we're going to go through. And I've got a couple of stories as well for each one. Well, for some of them. So there's only one goalkeeper. So
that we've been linked with.
that I found a good rumour for. Do you remember being linked with Jack Butland?
Yes.
So my memories of this were Dan Bardell's tweet from, I don't know when this would have been, 2018, 2019, 2020 even possibly. And he was adamant, I don't want this to be like anti-Dan Bardell thing, but he was adamant that this deal was going to happen because he had information that it was going to happen and it didn't happen, obviously, as we know. And his reason for that was that things change, football changes very quickly, and the information was correct.
And it does change very quickly.
It does change very quickly. Yeah. But the information when he tweeted it or spoke about it on a podcast at the time was, this is going to happen. I'm confident enough to say that, which was his first mistake, because you wait until you definitely know. And it didn't happen. And every time anything he speaks about on Twitter is about a rumour, somebody somewhere will reply, what about Jack Butland?
I don't know how many games Butland had played for. I presume it would have been Stoke.
He was at Stoke, but I think he was slightly out of favour at the time, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Or they wanted big money for him, or something.
It must have been obviously a Neil Cutler move, and to end up with Tom Heaton, wasn't so bad. I really like Tom Heaton, and it's a real shame that he got injured halfway through the season because he made some real top saves. But eventually, obviously, we signed him in Martinez, so all is well in the world. But Butland would have been interesting because up until he joined Rangers, he hadn't really done a whole lot in the last, 3 or 4 years. But he's been doing well at Rangers, but again, it's difficult to kind of judge that division sometimes. So for each of the players I've got here, I searched basically Aston Villa, player name, transfer, and found if there was a reputable website linking them to it, Sky Sports, Guardian, I remember Sky,
etc. It was worthy of putting them in the list. If it was somebody that it was just a fan blog or something, they were wiped out as not enough substantial evidence. The one I found for Jack Butland was the Stoke Sentinel, which is obviously one of our sister titles. I thought, perfect, there we go. Pete Smith, our colleague. Aston Villa were genuinely sizing up a big move for Jack Butland as he fought for form at Stoke City under Nathan Jones. Coach Neil Cutler has confirmed. I was like, okay, interesting. And I read on, Cutler spoke to the Claret Blue podcast. And I was like, okay, there we go. So the link here is that it's a sister title. Great, that's good enough for me. But the quotes that Pete is referring to is our podcast with Neil Cutler.
Do you remember the quotes?
Where I remember speaking about it roughly, and he kind of put it down to, we spoke to him, but it didn't really get any further than that. Jack Butland goes into our 11 just because he's the only goalkeeper on my list.
Yeah, fair enough. And it was just it was a big rumour, and
with evidence like it was on the cards.
It is an interesting one though, and we'll probably say this about every player. But what could have been? But Butland was obviously a top goalkeeper when he came through at Blues, I believe, and then had different moves and was doing really well at Stoke for a period of time, and kind of I don't want to say fell off, but career probably didn't take
probably should have left Stoke at an earlier point. I think Stoke were holding out for too much money, and then it kind of dipped off from there, I think.
Yeah.
Do you want to do these in any kind of random order, or do you want to go defenders, midfielders, forwarders? Because there's a lot of forwards.
I think we'll do defenders. I mean, I don't know if this is like what formation you're going with, but I always go with right back first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's an interesting thing. Yeah, when you do like a team sheet, right to left. Do you put? We're looking at a whiteboard here, and I was tempted to like draw the names up, but it doesn't really show up on camera.
No one can see it.
Do you put goalkeeper at the top or at the bottom if you're doing like a team sheet?
Oh, that's good.
I think this is on the Football Clichés podcast.
You know what? I tend to do goalkeepers at the top, but thinking about it, I should do them at the bottom.
Weird, isn't it? Because I think of goalkeepers being at the back. Obviously,
I'd prefer to look at it from the bottom.
So they'd be goalkeeper bottom with the rest of the team ahead of them.
You go forward, don't you?
Yeah.
Or up.
But when Sky Sports do it, they'll have goalkeeper at the top. We'll start with keeper, then defenders, then midfielders. Interesting, yeah. I've got goalkeeper at the top in my graphic here, and I will put some graphics on the screen probably at the end of the episode. The right back that I've picked here, and again, maybe we could go with different three at the back situation or whatever. Yep. The right back I've got is Matteo Debuchy.
Matteo Debuchy, what a throwback.
Do you remember him?
Yeah, I do.
I told you that's what the podcast was going to be. Matteo Debuchy, remember him?
Yeah. He's at Newcastle, wasn't he?
Yeah, Arsenal as well.
Arsenal, yeah. I don't remember being linked with him though. What year would have that been?
I've got my iPad in front of me for those that are listening with links and stuff. So I've got an article from The Standard. Matteo Debuchy to Aston Villa. Arsenal insert Arsenal insert recall clause as defender closes in on Villa switch.
Wow.
That's very
genuinely
football headline, isn't it?
Genuinely had no idea about that one.
It says we're closing in on a loan move till the end of the season.
Okay.
He was 30 at the time. This is January 2016. So the year we got relegated. Guard needs reinforcements as Villa attempt to avoid relegation, but Arsenal have no other specialist right back in their squad should Hector Bellerin suffer an injury.
Yeah, okay, interesting. I don't remember too much about Debuchy, to be honest, as a player, but
I seem to remember thinking he was decent enough.
Yeah, decent.
Could do a job, yeah. The other right back that I got linked on Twitter, I did a tweet basically saying, send me some rumours so I could put some kind of list together. I haven't got an article in front of me for this one, but Benzema from Chelsea. We were linked with a lot at some point. I don't know whether it was when he was at Chelsea or before the move to Chelsea or after he left Chelsea, but a lot of people said Benzema was notoriously linked with Villa for a time.
No idea about Benzema. Really? No, that's interesting. I was watching what was I watching the other day and Benzema was playing? Don't know.
What, a recent game? Or
it was actually.
Game? Really?
This is going to be bizarre. I already know. So, Real Madrid legends. This is the international break for you. Real Madrid legends were playing Porto legends, and I think Benzema was playing like up front for Porto.
Okay.
Porto, did they win 1-0? I think they won 1-0.
Peak international break viewing that.
Oh, it wasn't good. But I was laughing because the Porto players come out, and there was like some players that I know the names of. A lot of them I don't. And then it was like, okay, here's the Real Madrid team. Zidane. All these guys. Like Carlos, Roberto Carlos, all these people.
Yeah.
Incredible players. And they lost 1-0. So.
Yeah, so Benzema was obviously at Porto, joined Chelsea in 2008, was there for 4 years, then went to QPR. So I don't know whether this was during his Chelsea days or whether it was when he left Chelsea and we were linked with him then around Lambert's era maybe, possibly. But yeah, that was very popular on Twitter. Benzema linked with Villa. So Benzema or Debuchy can play at right back in our side. Centre halves. Now, in the mock-up I've got in front of me here, I've only got one, but I had shouts for Sylvain Distin as well. Remember the Everton player?
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing any, again, concrete links to that when I quickly Googled. But let's say he's in there as well.
Sylvain Distin.
Yeah. I don't know, again, what era.
I don't know how much I'm contributing to this video. It's more me just thinking, I remember that guy.
Yeah, but that was kind of how I felt reading through. I was like, oh yeah, look at him. Where did he go? No, I just wanted to kind of just have a chat about that.
I feel like he was very injury prone, Distin.
Yeah, bit of a clogger, I wanted to say.
Oh, what?
A clogger.
Clogger, what's a clogger?
Like big clumsy clogger.
Kind of like Yunus Kabul kind of thing.
Yeah. Yunus Kabul's a decent player, I thought.
Yeah.
Decent player.
Distin was
decent. Yeah, Sylvain decent. So let's put him in there. The one that the standout centre half that we were linked with, and this is certainly after his best, I would say, Rio Ferdinand. Do you remember that?
No.
No, I don't either. Now some of these are
when he went to QPR again.
Yeah, some of yeah.
Just going for QPR. Targets.
So this is a story from the Daily Mail. Ferdinand set to snub Villa on a free after leaving United.
Okay.
This was 2014, June. So 35-year-old free agent. So yeah, certainly after his best. Aston Villa sounded out Rio Ferdinand over a possible move to Villa Park. So this is in my time of fully being aware of Villa 2014, 2015, but I'd have no memory of this
what? It's probably
whatsoever.
because social media wasn't so... Well, I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
I think
I'd have been pushing 20 at this point. I've been fully aware of what's going on.
I don't know when I joined Twitter, which is like the cesspit for rumours. I don't know, like 2018, 2019. So, yeah, anything before then I probably wouldn't really be aware of.
Here we go. This probably explains why we didn't go through him. Aston Villa signed Philippe Senderos on Thursday.
Right.
So we'd already got our centre-back cover with Philippe Senderos, so we didn't need Rio
I do
Ferdinand.
remember a bit of Philippe Senderos.
I do as well.
When I was at school, I loaded up the computer to have a look at like his quotes or whatever, and he said that he's like based his game off Maldini.
Fair play.
Yeah, and my mate still like laughs about that.
Was he any good at Arsenal, Senderos? Are we kind of like clowning on him?
He was alright. I only
player?
remember him when he tripped at Balotelli, I think, against Liverpool when we won 1-0 away.
Let's have Rio Ferdinand and... I was going to say Senderos then, but that actually happened. Let's go Sylvan Distan?
Sylvan Distan.
I should have found out a proper link for him, but unless there's another centre half here that I've missed.
I'm trying to think if there's any that I can think of off the top of my head. That's,
I mean, there will be loads, of course.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like nearly
thinking
misses.
like recent times. I don't know where this has come from. Scott McKenna.
Scott McKenna, I remember that.
Steve Bruce wanted to centre back because I think Chester, his knees will just go in.
I'm going for McKenna over Distan.
Don't know where I've pulled. Where is that going from?
That's good. Let's go McKenna. I like that. It's a nice kind of on-air shout to go with McKenna. So let's stick him in there. You've already mentioned the left back. Do you want to have a remember?
Yeah, Roberto Carlos.
Roberto Carlos, yeah. What might have been?
Does he make the team?
does he get in there? Who knows? So,
when was that? Was this? Because I always know he's been linked. Was it obviously not in his prime, but was it before or after? Or?
So the story I've got is from The Sun, which, say what you want. Roberto Carlos came close to joining Aston Villa in 1995 before moving to Inter Milan. He also held talks with Birmingham City. What? How that happened, I don't quite know. I actually came close to joining Villa early in my career. I met with the club, but nothing happened. Birmingham were also interested, but it didn't go anywhere, and I later joined Inter Milan. Now, if it was just Birmingham to Inter Milan, you go, what an upgrade. But the fact that he could have almost joined Villa before...
How did Birmingham get him in a room, let alone...
Maybe his dad just piggybacked off when he was in Aston for a meeting with us, maybe. It's crazy, isn't it? We talked before, haven't we, about like the butterfly effects and stuff and how things change. How mad would it have been to have seen Roberto Carlos, obviously before our time, but does he still go on to be the Roberto Carlos if he has a spell at Aston Villa or not?
I'd have thought so. I don't think there was much that was stopping him.
Still a decent player. Yeah. So he gets in at left back. I think it's undoubted.
He only played... Sorry, just going back to this Legends match, Madrid and Porto, he only played 5 minutes.
Oh, was he in that? Oh,
yeah. He started it, and then 5 minutes into the game, his sub ball came off, and he was just clapping the fans. Why did you turn up?
just do that. Yeah, just clap the fans.
Porto had Charisma on the bench as well, and I don't think he came on. So
that's
maybe they must have had like a big meal after us. Right?
Yeah. Okay. So we've got Butland in goal, Debussy or Basingua at right back, Rio Ferdinand and Scott McKenna at centre half, and Roberto Carlos at left back. Which, to be honest, not terrible.
Seems a bit unbalanced.
It's not a terrible back line. Lots of midfielders and lots of forwards in the room.
Yes.
So I have picked 3 midfielders. /4 and 2 strikers. Some of them, like, you'll absolutely be aware of the players that I'm about to talk about, but whether you'll remember the links specifically is a different thing. One that you will remember, Leroy Fer.
Yeah.
Now, this wasn't really just a rumour, this was about to happen.
Serious.
It felt like it, and it all kind of fell through at the last minute, and we ended up with his teammate Tom Carroll.
For 8 minutes.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
Not expecting to have the answer to that, but how do you get so close to signing one player that not go through and you sign another player from the same club?
I know we needed a midfielder, and clearly Swansea had to shift someone.
Shift one of them.
Yeah, cause come down from the Premier League, hadn't they, I think? Yeah, Tom Carroll played only for a few minutes against Reading.
Yeah.
I saw his debut live in the Reading end. Fer would have been a decent signing.
Definitely the better player of the two.
Yeah, very injury prone. And you kind of think, well, you know, we had Horan, Grealish not at the time, I think he was injured. So where Fer comes into that.
Yeah,
you know.
Another option, I suppose. But then if we didn't need him, we didn't need Tom Carroll either.
Exactly.
Strange how these things work. One of the players I'd picked in as part of a midfield 3, if you like. Again, this only has slight memories to me. Another Newcastle player at one stage, Johan Kabay. I really rated Johan Gabai back in the day. He was when I was.
It would have been
high school.
He would have been above Villa's level at that period of time.
Yeah.
I don't remember being with him too often, to be honest, but a very good player.
No, I don't really. Again, this is according to The Sun. Former Newcastle United midfielder Johan Gabai does not want to join Aston Villa in the summer transfer window. He was being linked.
Suit yourself.
What's the percentage? This is when he was at PSG. Says he has his heart set on joining Crystal Palace and Alan Pardew.
Because of Newcastle, probably.
Yeah, so
Pardew before.
Newcastle, PSG, Palace.
I can't get Morgan Sanson on my head when you say Cabai. We were linked with Sanson, weren't we, for a couple of years?
Yeah.
He would have made it, I think, if we didn't actually sign him. We were a real mess, weren't we, at that point? And you probably thought, well, the players are aware of that. They'd probably, I don't know, speak to other players or players who have already left, and they would have said, like, don't go there.
Yeah,
this is
definitely
either a sinking ship or a bad atmosphere or whatever it may be.
So Johan Gabai is one of my three, but that's this is a flexible team, I'm sure. Another name that you'll be fully aware of, a certain Frank Lampard was linked with the move to Villa at one stage. As research, I actually done some actual research for this podcast. So I had a half an hour phone call with Rob Bishop yesterday, and I asked him about some of these names. So obviously, he was a Midlands reporter for a long time, dating back through the 90s when a lot of these players I'm speaking about were linked with us. I asked him about certain individuals, and he was like, "Oh, don't quite remember that." So that tells me there was probably nothing in it. But for the sake of this list, there's players in here that Rob wasn't aware of, but some that he absolutely was, and I've got some stories from
Lampard one
later. Lampard was not one that he remembered.
Okay.
Aston Villa are poised to match Chelsea's £11 million bid for Frank Lampard. So this was before he even went to Chelsea.
When he was at West Ham?
When he stood at West Ham, yeah.
Okay.
Manager John Gregory was in talks with chairman Doug Ellis yesterday about increasing the offer for the disillusioned 20-something-year-old, can't see the name. Made a 7.5 million pitch and then wanted to go up to 11.
Imagine writing that, disillusioned 20-year-old. God.
Yeah. Imagine that though, again, the kind of the sliding doors moment of Frank Lampard picking Chelsea over Aston Villa. Or, not effectively not picking, but
Harry Redknapp probably advised him not to come to Villa.
Yeah.
Before he even went to,
Yeah, obviously Chelsea at that period of time is clearly...
We didn't stand a chance.
It's clearly the choice. But yeah.
I like the clip of Redknapp when the fan says, "Why are you playing this young
kid?"
He'll
go right to the top.
He'll go right to the top.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it in front of him.
I didn't want to say it in front of him.
It's Frank Lampard. He's in there, isn't he? Of course he is.
Right to the top.
right into midfield. Terrible accents from both of us. Come on. Right, next player.
We're not trying.
Next player. Wesley Sneijder.
Wesley Sneijder. Vaguely.
Yeah, O'Neill era this.
Yeah, one of my favourite players, like growing up. Such a good player. I remember him playing for Inter Milan and whatnot, and top player.
Terrific player. top player. This story is from The Guardian.
What year was this?
And the bit at the top says, this article is more than 14 years old. So I've clicked a legacy link here from The Guardian. Martin O'Neill signals Aston Villa interest in Wesley Sneijder.
So we're not still interested in him?
This is no. This is funny enough. This is August 2009. The future of the 25-year-old at Real Madrid, linked with a move to Aston Villa. Talks about a loan move with an option to buy 18 million euros. I love that with these links that I've found out, certainly the ones that go back to the 90s, where everything is like the reference points for that period of time are so different to what they are now. Like a move for Frank Lampard being 11 million.
Oh yeah,
11 million at the time would have been a sizable figure, whereas now it's like you'd be talking 60, 70 million. Mad though, isn't it? Again, these kind of sliding doors moments, I'm probably going to reference that a few times. This week of this story, we just signed a 19-year-old from Leeds United called Fabian Delph. You go for Fabian Delph one phone call to Fabian Delph and then over to Wesley Sneijder. Like, what is going on?
And it makes you think, well, this is all happening right now though. Like in 6 years' time, 7 years' time, we'll be thinking back,
how we almost signed
like what
X.
Like who could we have signed recently that's turned out,
Well, let's get one out of the way here, as soon as you mentioned that kind of that period. Milo Rashica.
Oh my God! Yeah.
This is one that could have been.
That is the one, isn't it?
This lasted for so long. This was several transfer windows, wasn't it?
Milo Rashica.
It ended up at Norwich, and again, this is one that is kind of like bullet dodged, I suppose you say. He's not going to have any kind of success. I think I did
a piece about that saying Villa have dodged a bullet because the season after he pretty much rejected us. I think he was set on a move to Leverkusen, I think.
I can't remember,
didn't get that move, and then the season after he didn't play particularly well for Werder Bremen, and went to Norwich and didn't really pull up any trees. Where is he now?
I'll come to that in a sec. This story is from Sky Sports. Bremen want a fee in the region of 18.5 million for the 24-year-old. This is September 2020. This specific article, but again, that rumbled on to all the transfer windows as well.
This was I remember watching him in because the Bundesliga lockdown. That dreadful PR for the Bundesliga that was, because everyone was looking forward to watching the Bundesliga because it's the first league back, and it was so bad. The quality was dreadful. Yeah,
so Milo Rashica is currently plying his trade at Besiktas. 23 appearances. So Werder Bremen to Norwich to Galatasaray on loan to Besiktas. He's still only 27. Like he should be in his prime. So one that certainly didn't work out. Doesn't make the starting 11, but makes a subs bench, I suppose, of Aston Villa transfer rumours that never quite were. Onto another midfielder. I've got him kind of in the number 10 role here, but again, kind of float around anywhere. Gazza. Gazza, Aston Villa. One
of the best players the country's ever produced.
The story here is from the Birmingham Mail, in fact. And I've got some quotes. I've got some bits and pieces from Rob Bishop as well. So I spoke to him on the phone. This piece is from a guy called Matt Kendrick. July 2018. The one that got away, Aston Villa tried to sign Paul Gascoigne in the mid-90s, but it wasn't to be. And Rob Bishop also says it was the early 90s as well, like before... after the 1990 World Cup. He said, and I've got some bits in front of me, I made some notes, so I spoke to him on the phone. This is what he said. So Steve Stride, obviously Villa's club secretary at the time, and Doug Ellis met with Gazza's agent, first of all, in the UK somewhere. A guy called Mel Stein in 1990.
Mel Stein.
And then Doug entertained Gazza and some other England internationals on a yacht somewhere after the 1990 World Cup.
What an image.
They then go on to meet with Gazza again, himself, not his agent this time, in Rome, but the odds seem stacked against us, is how they felt at the time. They knew it was an ambitious thing. The piece that I love from my call with Rob is a little detail, because again, you can Google Gazza Aston Villa transfer and see plenty of, apparently this was going to happen. But the bit of info I've not seen anywhere else.
I like the yacht bit before you go on.
Well, yeah, that's my favourite. I think that might be in Doug's book. And this Steve Stride's also got a book, and I think again a lot of these stories come from those kind of sources. There was a bodyguard, for want of a better word, that Rob told me about for Gazza,
like
and kind of protected him around, keeping him from getting into trouble and whatnot, called Jimmy Gardner. But his nickname, do you want to have a guess at his nickname? You'll never get it, but do you want to have a guess? He's a big guy.
I would have just said Jimbo, but clearly that's...
Jimbo.
Jimbo.
It was Jimmy Five Bellies Gardner. Which obviously made me laugh on the phone to Rob. And apparently...
It's not a nickname though, is it? That's just a slur, really.
He was very well known as...
shorten his name.
No. It's almost like a wrestling nickname, isn't it? Or like a boxing, Ricky the Hitman Hatton, Jimmy Five Bellies Gardner. Anyway, apparently, as part of the story goes, from Rob via Steve, is that Jimmy and Gazza, before going to meet Doug, or whilst they were chatting at the table or whatever, decided to finish off Doug's breakfast. Doug had ordered this massive kind of buffet breakfast or whatever, and Jimmy, fat guy, big belly man, comes in and picks up croissants and whatnot, and before they get into discussing a transfer, they finish off his breakfast first of all. So again, you kind of go, Aston Villa, Gazza, nah, never, but something in that, they spoke to him, that they went as far to meet him. Five Bellies comes in and nicks the breakfast, and sadly the move never happens, and he ends up at Rangers.
Where did he it was at Rangers, okay.
Yeah, I don't know whether it was directly from them, but obviously goes on to play for Rangers as well. So one that got away, as Matt Kendrick says. And does he go into the number 10 role, Gazza? Is that where you put him a bit further back? What I've got is a 4-3-1-2 effectively.
4-3-1-2.
Goodbye Lampard and Schneider. Schneider a bit further forward as well. Box midfield maybe. Gazza at the 10, and then two strikers. Now there's
a lot of pressure here on Scott McKenna. A 35-year-old.
And Jack Butland, last line of defence. There's absolutely loads of strikers I could have picked. I've got 5 at the top here, and then I'll go through some other notable names as well. We'll start with an honourable mention actually, because again, this is our time. We should remember this, but I don't. Robin van Persie.
You know what? Very, very vaguely.
This was...
Very vaguely, I do.
This was January 2018.
Yeah, like vaguely there's something there.
Yeah.
I don't know how true it was, but I remember...
Well...
Yes. Was it Feyenoord or something?
It was spoken about. This was Steve Bruce. This story comes from Alex Dickin, Birmingham Mail, colleague of ours. Steve Bruce has revealed he decided against a swoop for former Arsenal and Man United striker Robin van Persie because he already has enough 30-somethings at Aston Villa, which is great. This is when he had been at Fenerbahce.
Fenerbahce,
he was available as a free agent.
This is a classic case of... fans probably getting excited. Oh,
yeah, because you look at that and go, Van Persie, has he still got something in his locker?
Don't touch it.
Yeah,
touch
well, yeah.
Championship team, don't pay his wages.
It says he was put to Bruce and Villa Park Chiefs before his contract at Fenerbahce was ripped up, and he might have wound up at B6 had the manager not been overly concerned about the average age. He says, Bruce said, he was wanting to come out of Turkey and we looked at it long and hard. It's not often you get the availability of somebody like Robin van Persie.
but you shouldn't have bothered. Like,
at the moment, with what we've got in the position and the amount of 30-year-olds we've got, I just decided it's better to look elsewhere, and I wish him the best of luck. But it was certainly an interesting couple of days.
It shouldn't have been.
Which I love.
It shouldn't have.
But I would have been romanticised by it's the Robin van Persie, the great Premier League striker.
Should have taken like 10 minutes. I don't think at that point he was...
No.
Do
you want the 3 backups first or the 2 that I've picked?
2 you've picked, because I think I probably know one of both, actually.
Okay. Who do you think it's going to be? Let's do it that way.
Falcao will be one.
He was one of the 3.
Oh, okay. All right, go on. Do 3 then.
Okay, so Falcao notoriously linked with Villa through various different bits and pieces. There's a story from... I've got Bleacher Report here, but there was many that I could have picked from. It's an infamous story. It actually comes from a Bleacher Report, a reference in the Birmingham Mail. Villa manager Martin O'Neill was offered a little-known Colombian prospect by the name of Radamel Falcao for a fee reportedly around 5 million, but
5 million
chose to sign Emil Heskey from Wigan instead. Yeah. Falcao was available, this little-known prospect, and we went for Heskey. Like, it's almost a jokey meme. You missed this and had that.
I think I've read somewhere as well that it was more of like, it was...
He was probably on a short list maybe somewhere, but there was never anything more than that.
You could probably say that somewhere about recent Villa history. I don't know. Oh, you could have done this, but Heskey wasn't so bad for Villa. Like, he did a job. Scored against Portsmouth, I think.
Again, it just comes back to that thing of what could have been. Everyone just goes, look what he went on to do. We could have had a bit of that before he goes to do it.
I think it's because it's Heskey as well. Yeah. Some people just...
becomes a bit of a meme, doesn't it?
Seem to declare that Heskey wasn't a good player when he was like playing for good Premier League teams.
So Falcao's on the bench.
Okay. If he's on the bench, you must have some...
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Or not.
Pretty good. Benny McCarthy was another one on the backup. Now, I remember him from Blackburn, was my memory of Benny McCarthy. Again, Twitter went crazy for Benny McCarthy, loads of suggestions for him.
What year was that?
We were linked with him all the time, apparently. The one I've got here is September 2000. Aston Villa manager John Gregory, again, has confirmed he has abandoned plans to sign Celta Vigo's 10 million rated striker, at least for the time being.
He was at Porto as well, McCarthy did well.
And this popped up a few transfer windows, apparently. I spoke to Rob about this one as well. And the information I got from him was only a very kind of basic confirmation of facts that I probably could have found from elsewhere. But he's obviously playing for Celta Vigo. He scored against Villa in the Intertoto Cup around this time, 2000. They won the first leg 1-0. Came to play the second leg. I think he said it was at the Hawthorns because Villa were renovating the Trinity Road or something. So we had to play at the Hawthorns for certain games. I did remember about that. And in the second leg, Celta Vigo won 2-1, and Benny McCarthy scored both goals there as well. So he scored 3 goals against us in 2 legs, and it's kind of like everyone was aware of him because of that. I was like, well, he's decent, we should sign him. And it was almost like this thing of he's good, like it kept cropping up apparently. So whether there was anything in that or not, yes, John Gregory's there's some references to it. So it's more than just, oh, he scored, he's decent, let's get him. Kind of fan down the pub kind of vibe. There was definitely something to it, but doesn't make it into the starting 11 that I've picked. Again, the starting 11 is very flexible here. We could move this around to Benny McCarthy could be playing. There's no structure really.
I thought of 3, and I forgot one. So
thought 2 then.
It was Loic Remy.
Yes,
link.
Yeah, again, not one I've got on my list,
and then
but I remember
another
that.
one, Meet You.
Oh, I don't remember that. Was that after his Swansea time? before he went to Swansea?
I think it was after Swansea, but he had some bad injuries, didn't he?
Yeah.
So,
great player in that one season.
I remember us going after him. There was another, but
Remy's a great shout. He was linked a few times. Yeah, even after he's like towards the end of his.
I might be making this one up,
well.
but Jordan Hugo
in the Championship times.
I think there was a link there.
Yeah.
Again, probably because we were a Championship team and he was a decent at the time Championship striker.
Yeah.
Therefore,
put two and two together, get six.
Whether there's any truth in it.
Yeah, okay. A couple of decent players. Adebayor was another forward that was mentioned, and again, almost not to the level of it being a rumour, because as is
basically done.
Widely reported, it was effectively done.
Well, it wasn't.
He was at Bodymore Heath. He had a tour by Tim Sherwood. He was there. He was ready to sign, and the story goes that he slept on it, had an intervention from God, and decided not to do it. Which, make of that what you will. Although
God's against Villa,
we did get relegated that year, so. Adebayor was probably right to
needed God to
tell him to avoid going to Villa.
Oh, was that? Oh, okay, fair enough.
It was the summer before.
Tim obviously did really well with Adebayor at Tottenham, didn't he?
Yeah. So there was again absolutely something in that he thought he could get something out of him. Got him all the way there. Again, whether the reality of it is that it broke down over wages or whatever, the story is intervention from God. I don't fancy it here. I'm cancelling the deal.
Yeah.
But it went as far as there was a shirt made up for him with Adebayor and 30 on the back, or whatever his number was, 32 maybe, for photo shoots and media work at Bodymore Heath for when it was all confirmed. Yeah. Obviously that shirt goes to waste because it's not. He doesn't get signed. Rob Bishop got his hands on that shirt last year and auctioned it for charity. Do you want to have a guess at how much it went for? This rare relic of an Adebayor Aston Villa shirt, which will mean nothing to anybody really.
I was going to 200 quid.
305.
I was about to say it should be lower. He's paid 305. This is the kit that we got relegated in?
It was the kit we got. Oh, you can't imagine this being a Villa fan, although it is such a rarity.
Who would buy it though?
That there's
a story behind it.
There's only one of those shirts, right? So
if Adebayor did join us in that season, I can't imagine it would gone.
Still want to buy a shirt.
Would we Gested and Adebayor up front, maybe?
Yeah.
Goodness me.
We'd still gone down, wouldn't we? But yeah, interesting tidbit that shirt was out there.
I remember Tim Sherwood was saying that players would just be turning up to the training ground and he'd be like, this is your new signing. Yeah. What's your name? Like, who are you?
Madness. And there was a link to Andy Cole at one stage. This is from The Guardian in 1998, £1.8 million move. Again, one of those sliding doors. A brilliant striker, linked with Aston Villa, what could have been, etc. We've kind of spoken about that with other players. The two that I've picked...
I've got another one, I don't think it'll be in there, but Giroud.
No, he's not in there, but yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because we wanted him, and I'm not shocked at all that he didn't join us, because he's gone on to play for AC Milan, still playing for the France national team.
Yeah.
And we were obviously, struggling badly.
Yeah, I remember that. Would we already relegated by that point?
No, we signed Samatta instead, didn't we?
Oh, when we just come back up.
Yeah, it was the January of... Yeah. Oh, we might have even been linked with him before, don't know. But
yeah, I feel like we were linked with him even before then. But yeah, it was after, yeah.
Another one. We were in the Championship at the time, so I don't know where the link came from, because we would have never been able to afford him, but... what's his name? The striker is another Algerian, so I'm working in my head Algerians.
Slimani.
Islam Slimani. Islam Slimani. We're in the Championship, and it was like, so they want 30 million.
Yeah. I told you at the start, John, this was just going to be, guys sit around and talk about random footballers, and that is what this podcast has been. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it to the point that our second camera's run out of battery because we've been here for so long just chatting. The two strikers that I've picked are Alan Shearer and Karim Benzema. You must remember Benzema.
I remember that. Well, I don't remember it, but I've heard of Benzema. I have not heard of Shearer.
No, I hadn't. Again, this was one that was flagged to me on Twitter. There's a link again, Birmingham Mail. The story of how Aston Villa almost signed Newcastle United legend Alan Shearer. Right. Once upon a time, sometime in the 90s, a certain Alan Shearer had almost signed for Villa. John Gregory was certainly very keen. John Gregory, writing in his book, takes up the story by saying, "We had already made gentle but ultimately unsuccessful inquiries to Newcastle about Alan Shearer. The Kenny Dalglish reign had just come to a sour conclusion, and it appeared that things up on Tyneside were not exactly a bed of roses. I dared to wonder if Newcastle might let Alan go." More substantial than just, Alan Shearer's good, he's linked to Villa. The manager spoke about it in his book. So Shearer goes in there for obviously one of the best strikers ever, one of the Premier League's best strikers ever. The other player, Karim Benzema, is also one that is probably Falcao levels of linkage, I would say. It's a story that comes up all the time from like generic Twitter accounts that are like, do you remember when this almost happened? And it's Benzema and Villa. What might have been. So this story is January 2011, so this is Julio's time. Real Madrid flop, Karim Benzema could be set for a sensational switch to Villa. I mean, what an opening that is to a story.
Real Madrid
2011 considered a flop, which is, he's not long left, has he? Benzema shot to prominence under Julio at Lyon, but has failed to justify the 30 million fee that they paid for him in July 2009.
So Julio's the catcher.
So Julio, when Aston Villa manager, thinks he's not doing too well at Real Madrid, let's get him to Villa. There's not much more to it in terms of actual quotes about it, but again, that is just one that does the rounds of what might have been.
Got a couple
Benzema.
of wingers.
Go on then, you want to change formation?
Oh no, just throwing him out there. So Pedro.
From Chelsea.
Lockdown season. Yeah. And Jefferson Farfan.
Yeah. There'll be loads of these, won't there?
Yeah, there's
absolutely loads.
Yeah.
There's players that I've not mentioned.
Probably no credibility.
Saviola from Barcelona. Late 90s, early 2000s, I think, off the top of my head. Aidan McGeady. That was O'Neill times. I remember that seemed to last forever as well. Christian Vieri. Again,
I obviously know the player. I don't know.
Again, Gregory linked wanted to swap Collymore for him, and something like £6 or £7 million. Again, whether there's anything in that, who knows. A couple more recent ones there that I'll say for a sec. Juninho.
Yeah, of course, Juninho.
Is another famous one that does the rounds. I had a story from The Independent. I actually spoke to Rob about this one because he was the Birmingham Post reporter at the time when Juninho was happening. He reckons there was 2 occasions possibly that we were linked with Juninho. Bill Howell was like effectively of the time. He was the Villa guy. The editor of the Birmingham Mail Post at the time heard on the radio that Villa were linked with Juninho. Bill, get over there, get sorted. This is happening. Go and kind of see what you can find out. Villa are after Juninho. Bill found out that they were linked with a player, but it wasn't Juninho, and they signed Alpay at the time.
Jesus.
And went back to his editor and told him, they're not signing Juninho, they're actually signing this guy called Alpay. Yeah. And he was basically like, Alpay who? I don't care about that, get me Juninho. So he wants the story of Juninho, even though there's nothing in it. Whereas Alpay was about to happen, and he's like, I'm not interested in that. Yeah. Which is just funny.
I just think, like, from my point,
imagine that happening now.
The world it's changed so much. If someone said, "Oh yeah, Villa might sign," I was like, "Oh, let me get on to Villa Park and find out." I know. It's crazy to think of like how things work these days.
Yeah. The second story that Rob gave me is that Juninho did go to Villa Park for talks. Now, whether this was at the same time or not is different. And again, you go down to the stadium because you might see them. It's basically the thing. You might see them there physically. Rob sat in the car park for over 2 hours, basically waiting to see any sign of whatever. John Gregory appeared, got in his car and drove off, but stopped farther up the road, saw the brake lights, reversed back, pulled back up next to Rob in the car park and said, "What do you want?" Basically, what are you after? What are you here for? Because I knew he was there to kind of scout out whether Juninho was there. So he asked about Juninho. Rob did, what is happening, what's the story, and apparently Gregory said the deal was off because they wanted too much money. He was going to sign for say 10 million, and then when they got him to the stadium and had talks, it went to 20 million, for example, and the deal was off because of that. But again, another one of what might have been. Could have been. So the team that I've picked, you may interject here and say that I was just going to say got the same ones.
Missed someone out there that I thought you might have had included, so I didn't mention it.
Go on.
Kiyotake.
Yes, I did say there were some more recent ones.
Because that's like the most obvious one that I can think of in that, I presume.
Yeah, Kiyotake and Belhanda were two that I had. Kiyotake was...
Belhanda, yeah, oh my God, Belhanda.
Yeah, Kiyotake was one that dragged on for ages. I remember that being like almost the start of Twitter for me, that like everyone was talking about it. People were like obsessed with this thing that's going to happen.
I don't know, 6 million, 7 million, and it might have been like, we want 10. Like these days, it would have been like, all right.
Yeah, fine.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. Kiyotake and Belhanda were two that they were flagged to me on social media loads.
Another
one that we've not mentioned, and this is the last one that I've got on my list anyway. Wesley Hoolahan. Or Wes Hoolahan.
Of course, Wes Hoolahan, yeah.
Do you remember when he scored against us and didn't celebrate? even though he'd never played for us. He wasn't about to sign for us. Which is madness. Imagine that now.
Was that the 4-1 Benteke?
Yeah, Benteke bicycle kick.
What
that
month was that though?
It was...
Because if we were close to January, I'd understand it.
It was after January.
If it was after January, he clearly wanted to move then.
So the headline from the Mirror is an exclusive from John Cross, who said, Norwich's Aston Villa transfer target Wes Hoolahan hands in transfer request following 1.5 million bid. So that was January. I think it was March, the Benteke goal that you're talking about. I tried to find highlights to find
he must have had a promise, right? In the summer, we'll look to...
Exactly, yeah. So but how mad is that though? Like, the January window is closed and you're still at Norwich. Whether you're joining Villa in the summer or not,
I can understand it.
To not celebrate.
I can kind of understand, because he must have had his heart set on that move, because that would have been his
the
big move of his career.
Yeah.
Really with Lambert, he obviously gets on with him.
Was that the opening
wage
goal
increase
as well?
maybe?
Did they go 1-0 up?
I think, or they drew at level or something. Yeah, it wasn't. We didn't go 3-0 up or anything like that.
No, it rings a bell that they took the lead.
Yeah.
The team I've got then, we'll do a nice little graphic for this. It's Jack Butland in goal, Debussy at right back, Rio Ferdinand and Scott McKenna at centre half. Roberto Carlos is your left back. Johan Cabaye, Frank Lampard and Wesley Sneijder kind of as a three.
So we're going Schneider over Hoolahan.
Yeah, of course, yeah. It's very, very attacking, the midfield onwards. Yeah. Paul Gascoigne in the hole behind Alan Shearer and Karim Benzema, which is some team. Radamel Falcao on the bench, Benny McCarthy, Jermaine Defoe, Wes Hoolahan, of course, Aidan McGeady, classic. Milo Rashica, they can get a game in there somewhere. Yeah,
there's a lot going on there.
If you've enjoyed it, let us know. This is sorry, I just kicked you under the table. This is we're filming this in the international break, and it's good just to chat football in any sense. So I don't know whether this is out this week or next or whenever. If you enjoyed it, let us know. Get involved in the YouTube comments. You will have your own suggestions of how this team should be put together. John, thanks for your time as always, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, everyone.